over. Trey Gowdy just told Comey the 4 words that will keep him up at night. Chairman of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, Congressman Trey Gowdy, just gave some very bad news to James Comey in an interview with the Washington Examiner. When asked if he was going to grill former FBI Director James Comey about his decision-making and timeline during his investigation of Hillary Clinton's email server, Gowdy said 4 words that will keep Comey awake at night. Have to? Won't we? If James Comey is paying attention, he heard that loud and clear. The House is taking this investigation seriously, and he's not getting off easy. Gowdy told the Examiner that he is especially concerned that the decision to charge or not charge Clinton was made before all the witnesses were interviewed. But he also said Democrats should be on board with the committee's bipartisan agenda. Of the 6 things we listed with specificity, 3 of them are things Democrats gave a big damn about last fall. So the question is, do they still? And 3 of them are things that Republicans cared about a lot last year, and the question is, do they still? There's a lot to complain about when it comes to Congress and even the GOP, but it's good to know there are some legislators who are actually on top of things like Trey Gowdy. Watch this Fox News interview to get an idea of Gowdy's plans for the investigation. And the DOJ is not above scrutiny.
But we begin with House Oversight Committee Chairman, South Carolina Congressman Trey Gowdy. Congressman, good evening. Great to have you here as always. So let me start with the FBI and the email investigation. What is new there that causes a new look at this?
I think the most recent new thing is the allegation that Director Comey or the Bureau may have made up their mind in May of 2016, whereas they announced their decision in July, so they interviewed 24 witnesses after they had already made up their minds. That's the allegation, but Martha, it's more than that. There were Democrats that were really unhappy with the Department of Justice last fall. There were Republicans that were unhappy earlier in the year, and that's the one entity that everyone has to have confidence in. Even if you disagree with the decisions that are reached, you have to understand those decisions, and you have to have confidence that they were apolitical. So Chairman Gillard and I came up with really 6 questions that we think are pretty evenly divided in terms of what Democrats want to know and what Republicans and the Department of Justice is not above scrutiny, and they're not above review. I have great respect for them, but they're not above scrutiny. In 2016, in my opinion, left a lot of unanswered questions for the department.
Yeah, I know one of those is why the Hillary Clinton investigation was discussed and the Trump investigation in terms of the possibility of Russian collusion was not discussed. But in terms of what you just mentioned and the political aspect of this, is there any evidence that Loretta Lynch made a phone call that she asked anyone before she took that meeting with Bill Clinton on the tarmac?
If there's evidence of that, Martha, I haven't seen it, and it has not been brought to my attention, but you put your finger on exactly why you need to have investigations. You need to come up with a list of witnesses, and of course she's on that witness list, and then you need to access the documents. Again, you and I are having this conversation because someone sought to access documents from the Department of Justice. So you do all of that, and then you do your interviews, transcribed interviews, which is my preferred way of doing it, and whatever you learn, you share in a public forum. But you don't start with public hearings, you end with public hearings. You have to do the hard work of investigating before you get to that point.
And in terms of that, do you expect that you will have access to anyone at the FBI who may have been privy to the writing of the Jim Comey draft when he started to put that together 2 months before reaching his conclusion about Hillary Clinton?
Well, that's a really good question, and that's going to be up to the Department of Justice. And so far, in some instances, we have gotten no better cooperation from the current Department of Justice than we did their predecessors. So that remains to be seen, whether or not the Department of Justice is cooperative. I would remind them of this. Congress created them, Congress funds them, and no entity is above oversight. I get oversight done on me every 2 years for sure, and more frequently than that, the Department of Justice is not above having to explain the decisions they reach or do not reach. And it doesn't have to be adversarial. But so far, it's been really difficult to get information from this Department of Justice, and I would recommend that they change that posture.
That's interesting. Here's Hillary Clinton and her reaction to the reopening of these two investigations.
I would say it's the same baloney they've been peddling for years, and there's been no credible evidence by anyone. In fact, it's been debunked repeatedly and will continue to be debunked.
She and others, other Democrats on the Hill, Representatives Cummings and Representative Conyers, are both suggesting that this is just, haze being thrown at the Russia investigation in an effort to distract from the Trump investigation.
Well, I would tell Secretary Clinton and Mr. Conyers and Mr. Cummings, Republicans don't get to write the headlines. We don't get to decide what the media covers and what they don't cover. God knows they've been covering Russia since January. I spent all day in a skiff interviewing witnesses related to the Russia investigation. So I don't know where Mr. Conyers or Mr. Cummings or Secretary Clinton were today, but I know where I was, which is investigating allegations of collusion. So I'm at peace with what I'm doing, but Congress is actually capable of doing more than one investigation at a time. And there was a time when Democrats did not think Jim Comey was the second coming of Christ. Remember, last fall, Harry Reid wanted him prosecuted for a Hatch Act violation.
Sure do. Yeah,
so
it has
I
cut
don't
both
know
ways.
where this...
I gotta go, but before I go, have you found any evidence of collusion on the Trump-Russia collusion investigation?
Well, I'm going to be really careful not to do what I think the Department of Justice did, which is draw a conclusion before the end of the investigation. It's still ongoing. To date, there has not been a single witness who has provided a single piece of evidence supporting collusion, coordination, or conspiracy, but we are not through with the investigation.
Well, that opens up a lot of questions about the dossier, which we will save for another day, and another interesting conversation with you as always. Congressman Trey Gowdy, thank you so much, sir. Good to see you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So, the investigation into James Comey was announced on Tuesday. Liberty writers will be following developments on this investigation and its findings closely, so stay tuned and share this out, Patriots. Yeah, Hillary says there's nothing and it's been debunked. Yeah, we haven't gotten to the meat of the situation yet. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and again, thank you so much for watching.